Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. We have a wonderful lineup today. I'm just going to introduce my favorite co-host. Here she is. Oh,
Oops.
where is she? It seems like
Here
she's
we are.
leaning. Oh,
Had to
oh.
get my second set of eyes, or maybe my third set of
Honey,
eyes.
I have some too. I just don't have them on right now. Matter of fact, I don't even know where they are. It's somewhere in the house. Oh, welcome, welcome. Hello, good morning, Naima. How are you?
I am fantastic. And how are you today?
I am wonderful. I am wonderful. It seems like we got a little disconnection. I think I saw your mouth move and then I heard your voice, so I wasn't sure.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let me see if it's any better now.
What does it look like now? I don't know.
Okay, there you go.
Has my sound caught up with my mouth? Or my mouth?
Yeah.
One of
Yeah,
them is
yeah,
a little
yes.
slow today.
Right, right. Yeah, I like those glasses though. Those are really nice. I like
Oh,
those. They
thank
look good on
you.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, they look really, really good on you. Absolutely. All right, so let's get started. I thought about one of our listeners on Blog Talk, and I said, he's like, well, we need to do more of that. So that's what I did. I did more of that on narcissism
Yeah.
when it comes to child rearing. And so um, I just wanted, again, our listeners are very, very important to us. So we want to be able to give them, what they ask, So I think that was a wonderful opportunity just to dive a little deeper in narcissism because there's so much to it. There's so
Yes.
much to it. It's just from so many different angles and how we are raised and stuff like that. So again, welcome to Soulful Solutions, and my name is Dr. Debbie Green, and we're going to have this part two to narcissism, part two dealing with child rearing, the impact it has on a child, and most of all, what comes out of that, what type of child comes out of influence of narcissism,
Mm,
what kind of traits do they have as far as personality traits, and how do they influence even their peers? You
mm.
know, how do they treat their families? How do they treat, sometimes, I just want to say this real quickly. A person personality is not totally developed until they're 18 years old, but they can have narcissistic traits as early as 5.
Mm. Now, I've read that the personality is, in terms of the foundation of what you become, is formed by age 4, in terms of all of the sensory input you've had from in utero, through the stages of learning language, and before you actually, of course, they're putting children in preschool earlier and earlier, but
Yeah,
by age 4 you've had enough experiences with other people to give you a self definition. You understand your place in the world, so to speak, because of how you're treated in your family, how you're treated in other social settings. By then you've had interaction with peers.
right.
So by age 4 you understand who you are in the eyes of everyone else, and that tends to shape your personality. What are your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely right because our developing years is actually from birth all the way to age 10. So our personality traits are handed down genetically and environmentally. So you're absolutely correct with that, and the molding years, I think the more what they call conformed molding years is definitely between 4 and 8.
Mm,
Those are the really molding years. I mean, kids get to the highest level of absorption during that time. And if you notice, this is like 3 years from 10 to 13. That's 3 years right before puberty. So puberty, when those hormones are starting to be prepared to be released, it usually starts around the latter ages of 11 going into 12.
mm,
That's when the body is then starting to conform. But however, because of the modern day exposures that we have now, Naima, in food and different things of that nature,
Yeah.
and chemicals, through food and things of that nature. It changes the biological as well as the physiological makeup of a child. And it even influences their mental as well. Now, I want to also do a show on red dyes,
Ooh.
red, blue, and yellow dyes on
And
the brain. Because I don't
oh.
think, like those Cheetos, those red hot Cheetos, those
Mm.
red hot Cheetos, those like drinks that have a lot of red dye in it, and people
Yeah.
really don't, like the Hawaiian punches. If
Ooh.
you, I mean, if you really look at it on the back of a label, you'll see red dye, you'll see blue dye, and all those dyes are chemicals that actually come into the body and cause a change in the biological chemistry as well as the
Wow.
brain. So we're going to
Wow.
do that. We're probably going to do that the first of the month because I got some guests that's coming also in May. But I want to do that because this is a study that we were talking about at the hospital, how children eat, and where we're looking at like when they put sugars in the body,
Mm.
with sugar like fructose and
Mm.
dextrose and all of those type of sugars that go in through different foods affect the way they react and their behavior. So that's
Wow.
another show. But you
Wow.
will be shocked at the findings. I was like, oh my God, I remember my kids were growing up drinking Hawaiian punch, and
Mm-hmm.
eating red hot Cheetos. And I always
Yeah.
wondered why their tongues were so red and their hands were so red. And I said, what were y'all eating? Oh, red hot Cheetos. I said, oh my God, that's going in your body?
Mm-hmm. Red dye. And we grew up on Kool-Aid, which was basically red
Kool-Aid.
dye with sugar.
Absolutely. And people used to use Kool-Aid to dye their hair. Well, that's a
What? Oh, I didn't know that one.
yes, it was red dye.
Oh
Kool-Aid
man.
can literally dye the hair. So what it does in the
The
inside.
poor
Oh,
man's hair dye.
that's definitely a show I have to do on red dye and the mental uh, impact. How red dye
Wow.
does that. So we definitely want to do that. That's going to be an interesting show, guys. YouTube,
Yes.
you don't miss it. It's going to be in a week or so. So we definitely going to have that. So again, the impact on children in their early years when it comes to any personality trait dysfunctions or disorders in a parental environment, as well as now remember, this is not just at home. This can go to school too. You have narcissists in
Ooh.
school. Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yes.
So it's not
Yes.
just, we don't want to just bring the parents, the grandmothers, the uncles, the aunts, the sisters, the brothers. No, we just want to let you know it is also out of the family
Oh
functions,
yeah.
you know. And the thing about this is you wouldn't know who's who a narcissist if you don't know what their traits are. So your child could be affected by a narcissistic child in school that's bullying your child. You see what I'm saying? Because that child has a narcissistic parent. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I just want to kind of go and deep, let's dive a little deeper in that, so that if anyone's listening, they say, "Wow, I didn't know Bobby was going through all of that. He seemed to have really been stressed out lately." And kids don't always tell their parents, nor do they tell any adult figures when they feel threatened.
They don't. They don't. Because they may feel that they're going to be ridiculed for letting someone bully them. Uh, they they're ashamed. So a lot of times they don't let it be known that they're going through something very hurtful at school. And if you have teachers that see it and ignore it, that sends another signal like, I don't matter, or I'll be told I'm weak or a crybaby, and all those things that children get teased for being sensitive and expressing hurt when their feelings are hurt. So
Right.
they don't talk about it.
No, no, they don't. So what I want to do is I want to be able to dive in some of the signs and symptoms, and also the influence behaviors of a narcissist in the family, but also how it impacts the child, but most of all, how the child then, puts this behavior in action outwardly. Okay. Now, mind you, some of them hold it inwardly. Okay. And they hold on and they suppress feelings because they don't understand what they're feeling. All they know is that they're uncomfortable. Now, when Mr. Kofi James was on last week, and he was week before last, when he was on, it was, he was like, his daughter was saying, Dad, you don't always have to keep buying me things. You don't always have to call me this because I'm this. It's like she knew that, okay, you're saying this to me, but then I don't feel this. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? I don't feel what you're saying. I don't feel how you're shaping me. I don't feel what you're thinking of me because I want to know who I am. I want to know what controls me. I want a life as well, not the life that you just want for me. Now, the thing about this is narcissists are, people that, and I'm not saying Kofi James is a narcissist. Please let me get that out of the way. I'm just saying because he's still, when he asked me a question, Naima, he wanted to know more about it because, he says there was something he noticed. He
Mm.
noticed it also in himself, but also how he was rearing his children. You see what I'm saying? So those traits had to, for it to actually, as we talked about, for it to get his attention, he had to realize that sounds like something I do. You know what I'm saying? Something I did.
Mhm.
For him to say, hey, this is real time. Let me know a little more about that so I'll know what to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm letting him know a little more about it, right?
Right.
So again, the impact on our children's behavior is where, again, sometimes they internalize it and sometimes it comes out. When
Yes.
it comes out in a bullying fashion.
Oh.
So are narcissists bullies? Yes.
Mm. You know, bullying has become well, it's been brought to our attention because bullying tends to be the the catalyst for a reaction to the bully, which we've seen in a lot of these mass shootings. We know Columbine, horrific as that experience was, we understand that the young men involved had been bullied, had been teased, had been humiliated. And apparently, the adults in that school had accepted that kind of meanness of young people toward each other as just part of growing up. But now you have people who respond with deadly force because they have access to weapons. And so that's taken school bullying to a whole different level when those who are bullied react or those who are bulliers react with deadly violence. So it's not something we can just shrug off with, well, children will be children. And we, watch maybe the chubby child get teased because they can't run and play at gym, or we watch the child of a different race than everybody else get teased and called names, or we watch the child who maybe doesn't have good clothing because their parents don't have money get teased by the way they dress, and we say nothing as adults because we experienced it in our childhood, so we just figure, well, that's just how it is. Well, we can't ignore it anymore because
Right.
it could result in fatalities. So we have to look at how are we allowing our children to treat each other, and what behaviors are they mirroring in us that get played out in a school environment where there are incidences of bullying and meanness. And how does a person learn to be so mean spirited to another person? What is inside of them? What has been put inside of them that would make them get pleasure out of hurting someone? That's a question I think we should be asking ourselves as a society. Where does this meanness come from? And if it's coming from parents, what's inside of them that makes them enjoy hurting their children who are small and defenseless and can't fight back psychologically or emotionally, or definitely not physically? So what is it inside of people that turns them into narcissists, where they are so self-absorbed that they're enjoying putting other people down and making other people feel bad?
Well, this is when control went haywire. Okay, because see, the thing about this is, um, people. Okay, let's just take again. We have to look at the ages between 5 and 18. Okay, and if you notice, a lot of the serial killings or mass shootings are between ages, 15 all the way to 25. I mean, if you look at it statistically, you'll see that, right? All right. So the frontal lobe, Naima, is not developed until you're 24, 25 years old.
Wow.
So we got the logic, rational reasoning, mental flexibility in the executive function, which is temple to temple and directly in front of our head. So being that that is not totally developed, what happens is we're all central nervous impulses. So all of these emotions that people receive are not dealt with. So let's say, for example, a child raised up, reared in a home where people are yelling and screaming, where there's no emotional availability at all. Just pure, lay down, get up, do this, do that, but no comforting. Not you can't no comforting, no direction of love, um, no what they call just being a present emotionally, like, hi Bobby, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling okay? Come and let me give you a hug. I love you. I love you despite what you do. I love you despite your A's and B's. I love it. No, you are not a perfect child, and I know you're not perfect, and I accept you in your perfect. No. People just don't say that. I just spoke to a young lady last night that wants to get her 12-year-old therapy. And she said, "Oh, she's the perfect child." And I had to interrupt. I said, "Ma'am, there's not a perfect child. Let's just
Perfect.
get that out of the way." Well, I'm not saying she's perfect. It's just that she's this, she's that. I said, "That's the problem." I said, before I even put her in therapy, I just want to let you know that there's not a perfect child.
So
Okay.
was the mother looking at the judgment of her child as a reflection of herself, and so that's why she felt the need to not acknowledge that there are things that may need to be uh, refined in her child?
I think she was minimizing the issues. That's what I think
Mm.
she was doing, because the child has been in therapy since age 4. Hello.
That means she ain't perfect. She going
Not
through
only that,
something.
that there's a problem. There's a
Therapy
big,
at
big, big
4?
problem.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
she started at 4 years old. And so she's still needing therapy.
yeah. That's
You see what
yeah.
I'm saying? So, but it's the mom is minimizing. Mom is minimizing the issue. I mean,
Mm,
sure, his dad is there because see, mom and dad has issues.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
That's why
and
the 4 year
if
old.
she knew that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, the 4 year old has a bigger brother, two older brothers. So she's like, oh yeah, um my child was influenced by her father and her brothers. Okay, well, ma'am, you're still in the home too. That's what I said. I didn't say it to her. I said, no, it's a three. It's, no, you're not telling me the whole
Yeah,
story.
everybody in that household affected that child.
Absolutely. So this is
Mm,
when parents don't always want to tell their stuff. You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? All right. So we go back to that thing called bullying, like you said. So bullying is only where a person, a child, adult, it doesn't matter, feels really inferior to another human being. So what they use control mechanisms, they use emotional manipulation and deception, as well as what they call intimidation.
Yeah.
They use this because they can't do this where they are. They can't do this at home. You see what I'm saying? Because all
Mm.
those things are being done to them. So
Ah,
then, they just that's the child that acts out what it experiences.
yeah.
Now the child that holds this in, that holds it in and does not be the bully, is very overly protective of self.
Mm-hmm.
builds up huge defenses. When I say it builds up huge defenses, ego defenses, like you're not going to hurt me. I am going to hurt you first, but I'm not going to hurt you by screaming and yelling at you. I'm going to hurt you by holding things against you. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? I'm gonna hurt you by, you know, where you may think I'm doing this, but then I'm gonna do that. And I'm not gonna tell you I'm not gonna do it. You're just gonna find out. It's like it's behind the heat. I call it behind the scenes bullying.
Ah.
It's not all the way out there. But see what they're reserved. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're reserved. So they want to control the situation because, first of all, most of the time, they don't want to be hurt.
Yeah.
Narcissists always don't want to be hurt. They want to be the one that hurts first, which
Yes.
means I want to hurt you
Before
before
you
you
hurt
hurt
me.
me. Now, this is in a child. Now, as they get older, they'll realize their locus control. Oh, I can control myself, but I can also control you by
Mm.
manipulating, by intimidating you. And if I get a little leadway, a little open door, oh, that's enough for me to get in there and try to do a mind control.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
again, children do this also to their parents. You could have one parent that's a narcissist and one parent that's not. And the one that's the narcissist can influence that child to also react to the other one that isn't the narcissist, but with
Mm.
the same behaviors. I've seen it.
Wow.
So now, whoever isn't the narcissist got more than one narcissist in the home, and they are catching HELL. Okay,
Mm. Mm.
you know what I'm saying? So they feel like you. Oh my God, you are attacking me. You are putting me in this bad position. You're hurting me. Okay, they may or may not say that, or they may just be the prey. You know what I'm saying? Well,
Yes.
that's just the way they are. That's just the way they are. So but everybody else can see that this is a big, big problem, right?
Mm.
So okay, no, now that we know the impact, okay, let me go over it again. Impact upon peers. Children can bully their peers, you know what I'm saying? With
Yeah.
narcissistic behavior. Children can also bully teachers with narcissistic
Wow.
behavior. Oh yeah, it goes. Yeah, adult superiors. Oh, a narcissist kid can actually get in there and cause major problems in the in a
Ooh.
classroom because she or he is going to challenge the teacher.
Mm.
Now, narcissists are very prideful people, and they got a lot of bravery and courage. Average person's like, oh
Wow.
my God, I would not say that, but they will.
Mm.
It's called courage on steroids.
Wow.
I mean, it's not funny, y'all. Honestly, it's not. It's terrible when you have a 10-year-old and they're talking back to a narcissist, being intellectually
Yeah.
though.
I'm just
They're
thinking of all the
intellectually
different
like, yeah, they're very
experiences that I've
intellectually
had.
doing it.
I'm remembering all the different students. Oh, first of all, as a child in a classroom with disruptive or disrespectful classmates, and you're wondering how is this person getting away with doing this, and maybe even seeing some teachers that seem to be intimidated by the child. I'm looking at that, and then I'm looking at different students I've observed even in schools while either teaching or being a parent volunteer, and seeing the dynamics in a classroom where a child seems to not have the normal child's respect for adult figures, and says and does things that are just outrageous. And you wonder, how are you doing this? What's happening in your home that you feel okay with cursing a teacher or threatening a teacher? And you know I, everything is a reflection of whatever is happening in the home. But I think when there's a family dynamic where maybe a child has watched one parent bully another, that they've learned that behavior, and that's what
Right.
they're projecting, that's what they're imitating, that's what they're displaying.
Absolutely. And defiance, because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about opposition, defiance, when and that is also a disorder too if it's done on a regular with the kid, right? With children. And that comes from, again, being in a home with, that with dysfunctions, and children have odd ways of expressing their feelings. Some narcissist children will use profane language, but
Mm.
then some of them are very intellectually defiant. And I don't know if you've ever heard of an intellectually defiant kid. They don't use profanity, but they're extremely rude.
Yes, yes.
They'll ask teachers things like, you know, why are we doing this? This is stupid. You know,
Yes.
you know, I'm not learning anything in this class.
Mm.
I mean, they'll openly say that and challenge the teacher,
Yeah,
things like that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Now, of
I
course, that still is a form of bullying, but it's intellectually bullying. When we intellectually bully, we don't, like little kids, they'll push each other around, or whether it could be physically, or they'll tell, oh, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're this, or whatever. But intellectually they come from a platform of saying, just opening in questions. Why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense, which is
Mhm.
challenging the authority of that person.
And then trying to, I guess, create a group,
Atmosphere.
an atmosphere, absolutely, where other students will then also be
That is the
non-compliant.
problem. That's what we call a dysfunctional wave, okay? Because it happens. One child can come in and destroy a classroom, just tear it to pieces, and
Mm.
they have to remove that child. But
Yeah.
then they got to have a reason to remove the child, because if the child's asking, well, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's not, to some adults, that's rude. Okay, but then to other adults, they want to say, well, won't you explain to the child why you're doing it? you know, so it
Because
depends
it
on
might be a
on the.
legitimate question. I mean,
It is, it
I've
is,
felt
but
that
then they
way
can.
many times. It's like, okay, what relevance does this have to my life? But usually you're conditioned not to question. I guess that's a thing, because there are times when we need to question what is traditionally accepted, because perhaps it is inappropriate given the reality of our life and times. Maybe old ways of doing things need to be challenged, but as you've said, there's a way that a child can question that could be respectful and not rude and disruptive and intended to create anarchy in a classroom. So that's something to look at. But well, I know we got to take a break,
Yeah.
but perhaps when we come back, we can take a look at what behaviors are actually destructive and where they originated from. Yesterday, we talked about the whole, youth riot that broke out in Chicago last week, and
Mm.
what triggered that, and how come so many were willing to involve themselves in what was massively destructive to the city, its international image, and everything else. What's inside of young people. Are they being bullied at home? What is happening in their houses to produce that?
Mhm.
So we'll take a look at that. And of course, if you're listening online, we want you to join this conversation. Give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1 if you'd like to speak. And if you're on our switchboard now and would like to give your 2 cents, or $5, give press 1. And if you'd like to connect with us visually, you can go to Soulful Solutions on Facebook and YouTube, and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can always get notices when Dr. Debbie is live. And we'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us. We have an opportunity to transform the
the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the Earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we start values, compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com. Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000.
It seems like we got a little interruption. All right, she should be back on shortly. So I'm sure it's still working. So I'm just going to continue on what we were talking about. Matter of fact, she's back on now. 1 second. Okay, I was about to keep on rolling. Okay.
Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today.
All right, wait, one more.
Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn them into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
All right. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green and my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of The Female Solution. Now, we were talking about the topic of the defiancy actually in the school system with a narcissistic child that's been impacted by, some either parental figure or some adult superior, what have you. Now, again, children do not have a lot of emotional control because their logical centers within their senses and their frontal lobe is not developed. So they're all impulse. So they make what they call quick, spontaneous decisions. Matter of fact, they really don't make decisions at all. They just react. They don't respond. And and they respond to fear most of the time. What I want to also do is kind of discuss what the environment of a narcissistic child and how a child grows up and what parents are or whoever is rearing the child usually has these traits, right? So these traits then cause different types of actions and behavior, feelings and thoughts in this child. Now, remember, a child is born, okay? So if it's born into a household of this type of personality disorder, then it is going to be recreated, okay? Which means that it's going to be shadowed. The parents want and desire their child to shadow them because if they don't even know that they have a disorder, they think this is just the way they are. You know what I'm saying? Even though, like I said, when they were young, it was the same process. So what is this? It's kind of a generational cycling of things that continue to happen. So narcissist parents, they demand the attention in the family. I am right and you are wrong. Just to get that out of the way. No, you're not. I don't need your opinions. I don't need your statements. And they compete with the other. If there's two parents in the home, one is narcissistic and one isn't, they'll compete with each other, which means the one that is narcissistic would literally bully the one that is not, but they bully on an adult level. Wow. Like, why don't you listen? You're always following up. You're always making a problem. You know what I'm saying? That type of bullying. Or, it can also go further than that into domestic, violence, such as verbal and emotional and physical assault of some or abuse of some nature. They also frequently compete with their children, forcing their children to see it their way. You know what I'm saying? Like, our children are not allowed to look through their own eyes. Let's just get that out of the way.
You can't have an opinion.
No, your opinion ain't good enough. It's not right. No.
Wow.
No, your opinion. I know what's best for you. You hear that? You don't know.
Oh, yeah,
you haven't lived long enough. I know what's best for you. You need to do A, B, C, D. And if you're not doing A, B, C, D, you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? You're this, you're that. You know what I'm saying? Go to your room. You're not, whatever they decide to do, because they give these demands and they pressure their children, right? They pressure their children at all costs. They have to be superior. They're not allowed to, they will use their fear tactics. I'm going to take this if you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Yes. They use fear tactics to do this. And because it's like a ongoing thing, now the child thinks, oh, this is the way I'm supposed to be treated. This is the way I'm also supposed to treat other people. So here's that bullying. You see the bullying? It comes out of the home and it goes into the school system.
Yes.
That's where it goes, into the school systems. That's the first, but then not only does it go through the school system, it happens in the home. We'll find a little brother will bully his sister, or a sister will bully the, it'll happen at home first, and then it goes to the school systems. You see what I'm saying? So most kids duplicate what they see. That's all they know, because they absorb it. So what happens to a peer that never had a narcissistic parent, but then here comes a child that does? You see what I'm saying? And inferior and intimidates this child here. Oh, you're going to be my friend, but you're going to bring me money. You're going to bring me money. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you, you're going to bring me money. Otherwise, and like, again, the intellectual part does not, the bully, a narcissist bully will ask for things and demand things, and then they'll lie. They will tell lies. Like they say, if you don't do this, then I'm going to go and tell another friend of yours that you did this and you did that.
So does a parent or parents set their child up to be bullied by lowering their self-esteem, by treating them badly in the household? So you're basically creating someone who attracts a narcissist attracts bullying behavior because of their low self-esteem that was created in a household where, say, maybe they're the youngest child, or maybe the only boy child, the only girl child, whatever it is, in the environment in their household, they were made to feel inadequate and made to feel that they have to earn love, or they're always afraid they're going to be ridiculed or put down because that's how the family treats them. So when they leave the household, they end up attracting that same energy to them, someone who treats them badly, and they accept it because they don't feel good about themselves because of the way they were treated at home. Is that a pattern that is created?
Correct. It is, because energy attracts energy. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Energy attracts energy. Whatever that child has in that child is gonna attract. And also the fear. Now remember, narcissism can be something inward or it can come outward. So if the child has the fear inwardly, it will attract another narcissist. You see what I'm saying? To intimidate that child. You see, and that's the way it's done, because energy never dissipates, it only expands. That's the way it works. So, but the narcissist never holds itself accountable.
Mm.
It doesn't take responsibility for his words nor his action. It's always, you are the blame of the reason why I'm doing this. You are the problem. Even though they are the problem, they don't take accountability. That is the biggest issue with a narcissist. Now, what happens is, as the child continues to grow, let's say for example, from age of 4 years old up to 17, these are some of the things that will happen. They tend to suffer from anxiety. They tend to suffer from depression, low self-esteem. They tend to also self-blame. It's my fault. It's always me. They suffer from codependencies. They suffer. They're people pleasers, even though they can't. When they can't please people, they get extremely angry, and they start looking. Usually if it's not self-harm, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. You know what I'm saying? If it's not self-harm, oh, you're the problem. I need to destroy you. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to either go inwardly or it's going to come outward. That's what it is. But most of the time with adolescents, it goes inwardly. And they get to the point where they have problems with their emotions. They don't feel what other people feel. So remember, you were saying just a few minutes ago, you were like, well, how can they do or hurt someone else and not be aware that, hey, you're doing something wrong? Because they become emotionally numb. You see what I'm saying? So, which means that, again, the frontal lobe is not totally developed to say, hey, what's going on? The logical, rational thing is, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. No, they don't look at it like that. Because they are looking at, if they're low self-esteem, okay, dealing with anxiety, all of these things. Okay, here comes a whole crowd of kids. Oh, I'm gonna go along with that. You see what I'm saying? Then they literally just go along with it. They don't even question it until after, because narcissists are very lonely people. People don't realize they're lonely, but they don't want anyone to know that they're lonely. That's why they act in this defensive mechanism way of always, deep down inside, they got very low self-esteem and they really don't know who they are. But they portray, the strong, intimidated, or over the top type of prideful person, because that's their defense mechanisms. You see what I'm saying? That's their defense mechanism. So when it's time for them the opportunity for them to scream or yell or get their point heard, oh, they just jump in. And adolescents or teenagers, oh, that's a fit in type of thing. So what you were talking about, oh yeah, that and I'll say everybody out there with narcissists, but some of them just really had low self-esteem, didn't know who they was, no self-identity or anything, and they just jumped in because it was something that people were involved. People just, they felt belonged, they felt accepted, and they felt they were doing the right thing, even though it was the wrong thing.
So that's kind of what creates I guess, a mob mentality when you go along to feel
It's
like
like
you
the
belong to something.
gang related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the need to be accepted and to belong is so strong. You don't even question the ethics of what you're doing to be accepted by people.
Correct.
That seems to be a very common situation with too many young people, and I don't know if it's because they one of the things that we've been looking at is the effects of broken families, dysfunctional families, families where there are hostility and children either feel abandoned or neglected or unwanted. And so they're coming out of households where their self-esteem is very low. Often they may even be blaming themselves because their families fell apart, their parents are fighting or have split. You know, they feel so out of control of their circumstances, and they have such a need to have their self-esteem rebuilt, and so they will get involved with a group that makes them feel accepted, even though that group may be someone that requires them to accept being demeaned in order to belong.
Right.
I mean, situations where girls will be accepted by a gang, but the way to get in, you got to have sex with all the men and all that kind of thing. You know, situations where you will allow yourself, or you got to be a boy wants to belong to a group in order to get into this gang. He's got to accept getting beat up first by everybody. So it's kind of like, I will do whatever demeaning thing is necessary to belong to this group. And I'm wondering how low must your self-esteem be that you will allow this of yourself? How are you conditioned in your family that you don't have a sense of dignity, pride, or respect in yourself, that you would rather demean yourself or allow yourself to be demeaned or abused in order to feel like you're part of a group?
Right. Yes.
You know, what's missing in your upbringing that you allowed yourself to be treated this way just so that you could ultimately feel accepted.
Right. And I want to also say this right here, because again, narcissism is a very wide area of behavior and changes, because let's say, for example, here comes the father figure that's speaking to the son. Okay, he doesn't show any warmth, which means he's not emotionally nurturing the child. But when the child does things like, fight, oh yeah, that's right, you should beat up little Bobby. Don't let him hit you. That's what boys do. Boys are rough, boys are tough. You know what I'm saying? Boys don't show love. They direct things. They take, they power over things. So this is, if like, to bring up the little soldier, as one would say, what I'm saying, teaching your child very young, not showing it to express love. You don't have to fight to get your point across. You don't have to put your hands on another child or anyone to prove your point. You see what I'm saying? But if you got a parent in a home that excessively appraises this, you see what I'm saying? Like when a child gets in a fight at school, okay, what did that child? Oh, he told me this, and he did that, and he did that, so I hit him. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hit him. You're supposed to beat him down. You're supposed to choke him. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're supposed to do. And but then check this out. If he didn't do that, and he said, little Bobby came home and said, no, somebody bullied me and they pushed me down. Well, why didn't you hit him? What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Why are you acting like you're dumb? Why are you acting like like you're what do you say, like you're weak, a wimp? Yeah. So now this child
I've known parents that send their child back out there to fight. Say, no, you go back there and beat him. Oh yeah.
Right.
Very
Okay. So now this child is totally confused. Right. So what it does when it does go back to school and somebody does approach it, just may say something that makes it angry, it just hauls off and starts hitting people because that's what it thinks it's supposed to do. But not only is it hitting people, he's bringing a knife to school.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is he bringing a knife to school, one day he decides to take his father's gun and go into school and shoot up the school and trying to kill a bully and everybody else and the teacher.
Yes.
So what are we training our children to do?
And this is because this is happening, you know.
It is real. It's so sad, but it's real.
So the question is, how come we as supposed to be adults are not wise enough to teach conflict resolution? Not you go out there and beat up little Bobby who hit you or called you a name, but why are we as adults not wise enough to gather together, parents, teachers, counselors, the children involved, the parents involved, and address the behavior that is inappropriate and help the young people resolve their differences? And I would guess the reason why we're not doing that is because we got problems. If you don't have the wisdom to say these are children that are in conflict, all of us as wise adults should gather together, all the parents involved, the children involved, the teachers, the school counselors. Let's talk about why is this behavior occurring and what is the inner conflict that these children are expressing? Where did it come from? And how do we teach them how to have mutual respect for each other? Why are we doing that?
They need to be doing it in the school. The school systems need to have those workshops on a common base, on a regular, talking about just what you're talking about. I would love to do some. I travel the nation and say
we need to create that. We need to create that because, you know, apparently that thought hadn't occurred to supposed to be wise adults. They're coming up with everything. Well, maybe we should have the teachers have guns so that, you know, when a child comes to school with a gun, they can shoot them.
They don't want to educate. They want to destroy.
Yeah.
See, if you psychoeducate people, psychology, dealing with these things of personality traits, then a teacher doesn't always have to have a gun because they can notice the traits of a child inside a school and then let someone else know what is going on. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
They said, wait a minute, I see little Bobby. I've been watching him. He's been doing this and he's been doing that. Watching him on the playground, watching him in the classroom, watching him in the cafeteria. Okay, something's wrong with this child. Let's contact the parents. Let's put the parents in front of the principal, the school counselor, or whoever it is. Okay, we have a little problem with Bobby. Something's happening, little Bobby. He's exploiting a lot of anger. He's bullying. He's doing all of these things. All right. So what we got to do something. We can't just keep this going because guess what's happening? It's influencing other children. Other children are also doing this because children mark what they see, which means they do what they see. Other children do.
So right now, the way we have responded to little Bobby with the problem is to punish. Okay, they're suspended from school. Maybe they have a parents conference, a parent teacher conference, and the parents come and they're all defensive because they don't want it said that they're the fault. So they're blaming the teacher's blaming the parents, and the child gets punished and never helped. So this is the model that we've been using for how many decades, and it's not working, people. It's not working. So maybe our intention needs to change. Instead of punishing someone whose behavior is unacceptable, why don't we look at trying to discover what happened to create the behavior? What is the child expressing in terms of maybe fear of something or responding to conditioning that is happening at home or whatever the case may be, so that we can help that child have healthy self-esteem Yes. And then instead of that child being punished for obviously being in distress and pain and acting out, that child can be helped and healed and restored to a position of emotional balance and self-mastery. Why don't we have that as our intention as adults, so the way we respond is differently? And
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of our Facebook watchers, Joy Seeger, wrote, I am guilty of that. My grandmother taught me that way, and I trained my children the same way until I learned better. Love you guys. And she also wrote this as well. I have sent my son out to fight again. I thought I could rid him of fear to defend himself. Wow. Yes, Naima, that was our model. It has to be discussed and changed.
yes.
Well, Miss, let me tell you something, Joy. Let me tell you, a lot of times, again, these things are cyclings that people just pass down. You know why? Because we didn't know any better.
We didn't
Okay,
know any
we
better.
didn't know any better, so don't blame yourself or whatever. But now, like I said, what we're trying to do is actually, and we can save one life. We've done our job because a lot of these children go from 0 to 1,000, not to 100, because of this fear intensely causing them to go into a rage. That
Mm,
rage then turns into torment and emotionalness for a human life. This is the problem. Okay. So
yes.
as we are doing this, this now is not just ordinary little fighting on the playground anymore. No, it's bringing knives, it's bringing guns, it's even going to the level of the family. The child is turning taking their family's lives. You know what I'm saying? So we can see it all on social media. We can see it on television. We can read it. We can, everything. So something's happening in our children's minds today, but also in our society. And that something is called fear. False evidence appearing real. Fear comes in so many different types of ways. It comes in like a slithering snake in our lives, and we don't even realize it. We don't know it until something happens. That you ask a person that kills two, three, four, five, or however many human beings. So what would drive them to kill? What would drive them to take another human being's life? And I'm going to go into that when we come back.
Mm. We'll be right back after this quick break. So we want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back after these messages. And if you've got a question or comment, give us a call, 515
And
605
subscribe.
9325, and go to our Facebook and YouTube channel. Now, is it Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green or just Soulful Solutions?
Just Soulful Solutions.
Okay, go to Soulful Solutions on YouTube and subscribe so that you can get automatic notices whenever
Under
Dr.
Debbie Green. Yeah, under Debbie Green.
Debbie Green. Yes.
Mhm.
And that's DEBBIEGREEN. And you will get automatic notices whenever Dr. Debbie Green goes live. You'll automatically get a notice in your email, and you can tune in to her other presentations on YouTube, and you will get an opportunity to be inspired. And we'll be right back after these messages. So stay with us. Oops, here we go.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts. On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platforms to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to onaireverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time. Hi, I'm Mama Joy. And I'm Reverend Rosemary. Join us every second Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time, here on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show for the Neighborship of Joy. We'll have powerful conversations inviting women to walk in the light. So call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak to the host. You can also join us live on the Female Solution Facebook page and YouTube channel. So see you on the second Saturday on the Neighborship of Joy. Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Viaka, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
Going on.
All right, we're back.
All right, welcome back to Soulful Solution. Welcome back to Soulful Solution. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer. Okay, so I wanted to kind of go into those dysfunctions of how a person becomes totally emotionalist and not value another life. But before I do that, I just wanted to talk about one of our Facebook viewers, our Tuesday host, Jody Suzanne Cahoon. I can't resist that. Cahoon stated, nutrient deficiencies will change the brain and cause anxiousness, anger, volatile behavior. Then you couple that with toxins and you have a recipe for this big disaster. Absolutely. I totally agree. Here comes those red dyes.
Yes. And that's going to really shed a lot of light, because I can remember seeing the effects of children who had flaming hots for breakfast, and then they had red dye juice, punch and everything, sugar, all that, and just the behavior, you're talking kindergartners just bouncing off the walls. And then of course you get labeled bad because you're out of control, because your brain chemistry is off, because you got all kinds of toxins in your system, your brain, the chemicals. And yes, she's right.
And Joy Seeger wrote again, exactly right. Our nation is grieving, in pain, and don't know how to heal or be secured or protected.
Yes.
Yes, that's the problem. Everybody's in fear and pain.
Yes.
And
you can't,
the thing about, they don't know.
They don't know. I mean, it would make more sense if we were able to speak to the people who are acting out, as opposed to just locking them away, because there's some answers that they have. They're responding to something. What are they responding to that we have created in our environment, that if we would get rid of it, they would not behave that way? So it would seem the intelligent thing, rather than us be living in fear and terror and locking ourselves away in our homes and packing guns and shooting people because they come up to our doorstep and all of kind of insanity, it would make sense if we just had a conversation. Just talk to people, listen to people, understand people, and then remove those things that we have created in our lifestyle that hurt people. It would be so much easier.
That's too rational, my dear. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. We don't live in a rational society.
Yes, we got to bring some rationality. We were talking about this yesterday, and Mama D brought up, some things happening even in the classrooms. If you have a narcissistic teacher that rather than wanting to teach you, wants to prove that they're right or they're smart and you're stupid, and it humiliates you. And this is your school experience. You're going to hate school. You're going to grow up angry, defiant, destructive. And this is the environment in so many of our schools. And you wonder, how is it that a teacher would get satisfaction out of putting down a child who doesn't know an answer to a question, as opposed to just saying, well, let me see if I can help you all understand. Let me re-explain it. What is that? And I see that so often. And this is the environment that so many of our children are spending so many hours out of their day, daily humiliation and put down by the person in authority. So of course they learn to hate people in authority. They learn to hate school, education, and everything it represents, because it always represents some kind of emotional pain. And rather than us look at it, talk about it, and understand it so we can fix it, everybody's pointing fingers at blame, and ultimately blaming the child who is really just responding to what they experienced from the adults.
Well, that's just it. Again, narcissism behaviors are created in childhood and they act out through adult lives. Okay, so it's a good chance that that person doesn't even understand or even comprehend, have no self-awareness that they are permeating their narcissistic behavior on an innocent child. Until, of course, it would be really great if the school systems can have psychoeducation workshops for their staffs, for the families of children, including kids. From the earliest ages of grade school, from second grade all the way to high school and beyond, college. Because can you imagine having a narcissistic professor? Okay, it's the same thing.
Yes.
You're never good enough. Everything is always wrong. You feel attacked because no matter what you do, you can't pass the test. And you ask the narcissistic professor to, like, can you give me this test again? Or what? Well, I don't understand why you can't do it. Everybody else can. What's wrong with you?
I have even known people like that will brag about how many students they fail each year. And I'm thinking, why are you pleased to be able to fail? Why are you pleased to have the reputation of being a hard teacher and, oh, that class is so hard and nobody passed that class? Why would you want to do that to another human being? Make them feel like a failure, as opposed to sharing knowledge, which would help them become a better human being because they have information that can help them in their lives. You want the satisfaction of being able to make them feel like a failure. What's inside of you that would make you enjoy that? That's my question. And hey, if you all are anybody out there that's a teacher, and if that's you, you need to look at yourself in the mirror. Why are you enjoying that? That's a real question.
Because they have a low self-esteem, so they exalt power, Naima. People in adult minds who have low self-esteem or feel low self-worth put on the defense to exalt power.
That's sick.
And it's not everybody. Now remember, it could come outward or it could say inward. Okay, please let me give the differentiations now. Inward is when we have the low self-esteem. Inward, it can cause anxiety, it can cause depression, it can be codependency, those areas. But when it's coming out, it is control. Okay, it's exalt a power, it's a bullying fashion. It's intimidation, it's emotional manipulation and deception. Those are the outward types of behaviors with narcissism. Oh, I'm competing with you, but I'm going to win. You're not going to win. And adults do this to each other. You see what I'm saying? Right? Okay. So this is what happens as people grow up and don't even realize it. You're living out your childhood trauma. You're living out your childhood trauma.
So now the thing that Joy Segura brought up about when you send your child back out to beat up the little child who just beat them up.
Yeah.
And how many of us were raised that way. And it didn't occur to us to say, well, here we have two children that are in conflict. Let me go and meet the parent so that we can get with the children and help teach them how to live together in peace. It doesn't occur to us to do that because we're thinking, her child not going to beat up my child. So instead of us having a collective mindset that we want our children to learn how to live in peace and cooperation and mutual respect, we're thinking, I'm going to make sure my child beats up her child. And, the other parent may be feeling the same way. So rather than us set an example of how to get along, we're demonstrating how you have power over someone, how you have to be the one that's the intimidator. You have to be the victor in the fight.
Yep,
but in these times, because in these times it's not fist fights anymore, not even knife fights. People got automatic weapons. So we can't have that kind of mentality. I'm gonna make sure my child beats up your child because somebody's child ends up dead.
Right.
We need to change our own.
Absolutely. We don't have a truce mentality. It's a lot of us that don't have what they call a mutual understanding, looking for mutual understanding more so than look for a power struggle. You see what I'm saying? Power struggles are when people tend to put the intimidation on another person because of what they feel. They don't feel strong inside, so they intimidate another individual.
That's what happens. We got a caller on the line and wants to speak. Oh, we got several. We got a whole bunch of hands up. Okay. So let me, you want to go to the phone lines? Okay, so I'm going to take you all in this order. 773-885-773-330 and 773-737. I'm going to take you in that order. And if you're on our switchboard now and want to speak, you can put your hand up as well. Press 1 and we'll come right to you and get your thoughts. And let me go first to area code 773-885. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green.
Well, this is Mama Joy.
Hey.
Good morning, ladies. You all are just having too much fun. Too much fun this morning.
Absolutely.
I had my head up at the teachers. Y'all ignoring me. I'm in the classroom and y'all on.
Well, I guess I didn't look down at the switchboard for a while. Like, okay, well, let me pay attention.
Yeah, I tell you, because this is a hot topic, and I'm really so pleased, and I think this should be something ongoing. because this is a national issue. Truly, our nation is grieving, and our young people are in this bowl, like a fish bowl and container, and they've got all this power and energy, and no guidance is there for them. They're losing hope, and so what we're looking at is really. I've been talking with. I went to that grief session and learned that we're looking at children who are grieving, children who are hurt, and all should be on board learning whatever we can to address it. But the four things I wanted to mention is that we have to take ownership of our responsibility of the crisis that we're in the midst of. We really have to take ownership. Yes. And you all called me to face that up this morning, because I said it lightly, but when I heard it, I said, ooh, I'm part of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And we have to share our story, share our errors, and be willing to heal, not the children, but heal ourselves from the damage that we've been done. Now, and real talk is, we say a lot about the teachers, but we have to understand the reality that they came from the same cesspool as all of us. Yes. They are indoctrinated with this, and they need to be retrained. Yeah.
That's right.
The principal to the union. I turned a principal in, and I grieved her, and of course she made hell for me after that. But I sent her to the board. Thank God for their pain, and they sent her to anger management. Do you hear me? I don't know what she did with them, but I know I reported her because of the way she was treating staff, treating me, and it was horrible. It was really horrible. And when I sent an agreement, the board called her in. I don't know what the session did, but ultimately they had her to go several months to anger management. Wow. And lastly, I want to say this is that same child that I beat and would have him going out there, my nephew said to me, we had a conversation because he missed my son, and he told me, he said, you know, Shari really liked to fight. I said, what do you mean he liked to fight? I said, he wasn't that way. He said, you don't know him. I didn't know my son was fighting all over the place. I didn't know that. But this conversation this morning brought me into that place in time where I actually sent him out the door. I said, no, you're not going to have him to beat you. You go out there and you get him back. And I said, remember, but my son is gone. And I believe that, again, I'm a contributor to him loving to do that. I never discussed it with him because I never saw it. He always, obviously, he did it away from me. And so he was killed at the age of 34. Oh, no. All of my other children, I miss him today. And you all, with this conversation, is bringing me face to face with my contribution to that. And yes. And so I didn't birth him to bury him, but I did. And this morning, you all brought that to my attention. And I never knew that until my nephew told me how much he loved to fight. And he was defending different people in the family, but they all kept that away from me. And so, he was killed at the age of 34, and that's the pain. You know, I'm not blaming myself, Dr. Green, but I'm taking responsibility and ownership that of what I was, and I know that I loved him, and I know I never would have thought that would have occurred. I'm gonna leave it up to others to call, but it's a pain that I will have to soothe, and I think by talking about it, it's going to help me because our kids are dying, and the whole nation, all over the nation. So thank you all. I turn it in for others. God bless.
Well, God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. You know, this is the second time this week that I've talked to somebody whose child was killed.
Yes.
Dr. Ron Ford on yesterday, and he had a story saying, you know, his son was shot in the drive-by. But she's right. We're grieving. The nation is grieving because it's become so violent, and we have not created a culture where peaceful behavior is valued. You look at how men are taught to define manhood, and most of them, like you were talking about earlier, they're taught that men don't show emotions, men don't show tenderness, men don't show weaknesses by crying or acting like they care. You know, you have to have this stoic thing. Fathers don't hug their sons or tell them they love them or anything like that. Yeah, that's being wimpy and weak. You know, you have to be strong. So this is what our culture has done in making us feel like this is how we're supposed to raise our children to be strong, so-called. And now we're learning that this was incorrect. But a lot of parents feel the pain of seeing the results of a misshapen culture that glorified being more violent than the next person to show that you're stronger than them. So now that we know better, we must do better. Our past was to teach us so that we can become better people. Yeah. And in order to do that, we have to do like Mama Joy said, you know, take responsibility for the decisions we made when we didn't know better. And we thought we were doing the right thing, but now we know. So let me take the next caller, 773-330. Thank you for joining us. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green. Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm brother. They call me Brother Charles.
Brother Charles, yes.
I've been studying this narcissism for some time. And, you know, as you know, the Most Orthodox Muhammad really had the program that would combat this whole situation, because this is a spiritual situation. This is spiritual warfare. That's what's going on. That's why they're killing one another.
That's true.
As young people, they didn't have a structure. They didn't have a structure to commit themselves to or with. So they created their own structure with the gangs. Because we've been through so much over the centuries that this has been what we have been created to become. And we have become this monster that we've been created into by the monsters that created us into. So a lot of the stuff, and it comes from abuse and neglect. This is where this stuff originates from. Abuse and neglect. Children are being abused, they're being neglected, they're being taught wrong. You hear mothers cussing their babies out, and the baby don't even understand the language.
I know. They just feel the energy of being cussed at.
And the guys, I see guys on the buses yelling and screaming, cussing each other out. Buses full of people. Now these children hear that. These children hear the same type of thing. And they listen to it, and they say, well, I guess that's where I'm supposed to act. And this was recorded in their mind, and they will do the same thing later on. See, a lot of this stuff that we don't know about is done. You know, we don't know about it by design. You know, and a lot of it was caused by the design that we were put under and through. The suffering and misery that we've been put under and through for the centuries that we've been put under. It has caused this. And see, we need to form structures that enable our young people to learn better. Because if you don't know better, you can't do better.
There you go.
This is what we need to do. We need to have, instead of just playing basketball, have it like a recreational and a health care. You know, where you get develop an understanding of what goes on in the minds of themselves and each other, and attitudes. They need personality development. They need to learn who different personalities are and where they fit in or don't fit in, or what they can do to change or create a better situation, not only for themselves, but for the environment too. This is what they have to learn. And I mean, for us to come about this sick situation that we are under.
Situation, I like that.
You know,
yes.
You know, and we go and we need to do more about that. The way we do, we got to go inside. All these problems come from the head. They come from the mind. They come from the mind, the way they think, and the way the way you think relates to the way you develop an attitude, and then you have a behavior behind it. You see what the behavior is. All you got to go back and see, well, what causes this behavior?
Yes.
And it's an attitude. And what causes this attitude? It's the way that they're thinking. And why are they thinking like? Because the stuff that went into their mind has formed their mind to think like that.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
This is what we got to. This is what's got to be done.
Absolutely.
We got to go to break.
Thank you so much, Brother Charles, because we got to go to break now, but we want to thank you so much for those words of insight. That is exactly what we have to do, is look at where is that originating from, and how do we fix it. Thanks so much for calling in, Brother Charles. We appreciate you. We got to take a break now, and we'll be back. And 773-737-312-671. Anybody else that's on our switchboard that has a comment, press 1 now so we can make sure we give you enough time to speak. And we'll be right back after these messages with more from Dr. Debbie Green, Soulful Solutions. We'll be right back after this quick break, so stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solutions Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit zeldaspeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on Cable TV, Channel 19 in Chicago. And other cities, check your local cable listings.
All right, all right. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer. And again, we're at the top of the hour, and our topic of today is narcissistic behavior and child rearing, pride and control. I just want to also make one quick point before we finish going to the caller base. One thing about narcissism, again, it is a very lonely place for a narcissist. And they dread being ordinary. They don't like being ordinary. They are attention seekers, demanders, and commanders. They love control. They eat it, they breathe control over whatever, whenever, however they can get it, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the school, whether it's at home, in the grocery store. It doesn't matter. It's because this is their makeup. And again, please understand, a narcissist was a child too. Okay. So, it's a narcissist was an innocent child, an innocent baby that was neglected emotionally, that was either abused, mentally, emotionally, sexually abused, put down, belittled, torn down from the cyber of their being. And they did not get the help, they did not get the nurturing that they did in those early childhood years. Then they turn into something detrimental. Because really, when one is destroying another human being, it is destroying itself. So, what am I saying to you? They destroy themselves through other people. That's what they do. They eventually, as they live, as they get older, it gets worse. The worse it gets, if it starts at age 7, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse until they get help and get treatment for it. And I want to make sure I'm talking about the treatment. So we're going to take those callers, but the end result, if they don't get help, they end up being recluse. They end up being to themselves, shutting the world off and staying to themselves.
Wow.
People not only, let me make this point, if they ever, again, a narcissist that gets any Alzheimer's dementia, Alzheimer's disease, become very volatile, very hostile to others, and they have to be secluded, even in locked units.
Wow.
So this is, it is a personality disorder that changes the chemistry of the brain.
Wow.
It changes the emotional centers of the heart and even the soul. It's because it is a spiritual thing, as Mr. Charles says. It's a spiritual, mental, emotional battle in this individual.
Wow. That's what it
all
is.
in one.
All right.
In one. And they don't know what to do with it. All they know is either it stays in the self-destruct, but either way, they're destroying themselves if they destroy another human being. You can take that call, please.
All righty. So again, taking you in this order: 773-737, 312-366, 312-671, 336-350. So hold on, getting to you. And if anybody else on our switchboard has something to say, and we got 773-450. All right. So now y'all
try to be mindful of the time you're speaking, so everyone can speak, please. Thank you.
Yes. Please be courteous to those who are coming after you, because we only get about 18 minutes before we get to go. So, all righty, let me go to 773-737. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comments for Dr. Debbie Green. Go right ahead.
Well, hallelujah, greetings, Grand Rising.
Yes, hallelujah,
Grand
greetings.
Rising.
Mama D. Yes.
Yes. 2 days ago, a mother and father was arrested for encouraging their 2 daughters to beat up on another girl.
Ooh.
On May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation laws were unconstitutional because they only existed to keep the status of the Negro down, and it caused heart and mind damage to children so serious that it was doubtful that they would ever overcome it. Now, these 6-year-old children are now in their 70s, and a follow-up study was demanded. They didn't get a follow-up study, and they did not get any treatment to repair the damage that the Supreme Court talked about. So this is a generational situation. And 2 weeks ago, it was acted out in the unruly behavior of our young people that I'm sure went all over the world, jumping on top of CTA buses, stopping cars, and beating up people. I know you all heard it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're still talking about it.
Yes.
And but what I wanted to point out was some of the young people was on the radio, and they were talking about it. So I thought it was very interesting that their comment was, well, parents think they know everything. No, they might not know the latest dance step, but the parents know enough to put food on the table, put change in your pocket, and give you some warm clothes so you don't freeze to death, and to pay the light bill so that you can hook up your computer to it. They know enough. But the fact that they would make that particular comment gave me pause. They think they know everything. I think the problem is that you are thinking for parents. The parents think that they know. How do you know what your parents is thinking when you're not in their heads in the first place? But I think the problem is you think that you know as much as your parents. And it's rooted in disrespectful behavior. It's rooted that when one little sister or brother slaps and bullies up another one, and parents act like they don't see it.
Yes, that's it. That's where it starts.
Right there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mama D. I think that's it. Bullying starts in the home, and then when parents don't step in and correct the behavior, then it spreads. And sometimes the children are imitating what they see parents do to each other. Area code 312-366. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comments or questions for Dr. Debbie Green. Go right ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me? I'm from Chicago. This is Sister Duchess. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to say this. Hey, Dr. Debbie Green and my other sisters, and I'm Dr. Debbie Green. I love you so much, and thank you for being who you are. And I haven't forgot about you, but Chicago's in a big mess, a big mess, and you already know, and I'm trying to help cover this mess, fix this mess. But I want to say this about the children. Dr. Debbie Green, I want to ask you a question. I got a comment, but I want you to look at what I'm thinking of, what God, the Holy Spirit, showed me, that we are doing the same the Israelites did. Remember the 40 years to 40 days to 40 years? We took 400 years from 2019 to 2019 when 2019 came. They said, oh, we got the COVID now. That's the cover up of the currency of our country. But what they're doing, Dr. David Green, remember the firstborn in the Bible? Moses, and they were destroying our children. I think that what they are doing, that they are giving our children the weapons of destruction, but it's spiritual warfare. That's the weapon, and we, the Israelites, we are the chosen people. We are the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We come from the tribe of the line of Judah. But why do black people keep talking? We lost. It was 12 tribes. Oh, we was not in the lost tribes. We were lost, and the other two was ours, and another one was line of Judah. So why you keep saying black people we lost? We was never part of the lost tribe. We lost because we went the other way. Dr. Debbie, listen to what I say. Do you believe that our children are doing this, acting out? Because remember when God killed all the Israelites, the grown-ups, remember? And he said, I'm letting you go, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Y'all got to go because y'all didn't do what you're supposed to do. And then he said, come on, Aaron, Joshua and Caleb. And I think God is getting rid of the older people and raising up the Joshua and Caleb. Although they're acting out in a mean way, but they're not stealing anymore. They then, you know, that here we come, we rising up because God said it is their time to shine, the Joshua and the Caleb.
Well, all right, my sister, we thank you for that thought. And Dr. Green, There's this ancient
Yes.
things happening that we're seeing manifested today. Definitely.
Absolutely. We're dealing with, yes, we're dealing with generational curses. And the thing about it is, in the word of God said we will revisit the fathers. All right. So, which means that the fathers, which is the male, we can go all the way back. And I'm going to say this quickly in 60 seconds. So we can go all the way back to the Adam, to the Garden of Eden. Okay. Because the thing about this is the law was given to Adam, and Adam then did what Eve asked him to do. But if he understood if he really understood and took that law seriously and not allowed his feelings to get in the way, okay, what we usually do as human beings, then we could have acted out, we could have prevented all of the things that has happened since the Cain and Abel conspiracy. Okay, Cain and Abel was one. My brother, I killed my brother, I slaved my brother. Not only that, I am not my brother's keeper. Okay, so our children today is in that same conspiracy. They're against each other, but most of all because their fathers and their mothers were against each other. And we go all the way back to slavery. We were torn to pieces. We were torn aside. We were captive in bondage. And we go even before that, in the biblical days, because we're still wondering what to do. Because love conquers a multitude of sins, but it also conquers the hate and rage and murder in society. And until we realize what we are doing and understand our responsibility, each one of us, not just the ones that see the problem and talk about the problem, but hey, guess what? Lead by example. Right? Open up your minds and you get on out there. You can save one life. You've done your job, baby. And I tell that to everybody,
Lead by example. There we go. We got the solution. It's always love. Love overpowers any spiritual warfare.
Psychoeducation is the solution. Is in educating people. People have learned helplessness, learned anger, learned behavior of just torment, volatile, hostile, all the tiles.
Here.
Okay, learned.
Yes.
Learned behavior.
That's it.
That's also we have to unlearn them. Total cognitive reprogramming.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
Give me a bullhorn. I'll say it across the nation.
We got 5 more folks who want to speak now. So
go ahead.
So now everybody got about a minute. So make your statements succinct. That means quick. 312-671. You're on. Go right ahead.
Narcissism.
Check your mute.
312-671.
You're on. Check your mute.
Yes, you're right. We're on Ya Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, and good morning, Dr. Debbie Green, and the Female Solution. We love you. This is Brother Minister Robert Floyd Plump. It takes a whole village to raise one child, and nobody can raise a kid. This is a part of the solution that I think Black love matters too. There was a time we all was in love with God, and the word say the same, to honor God, honor your father, honor your mother, and honor the elders. And I believe, there was a statement made earlier, we hold ourselves accountable for the conditions of our community. Support our efforts as we exercise change. And that's the one thing that is necessary. For more information, brothers and sisters, and especially you, Brother Charles, hope you're still listening, and Dr. Debbie Green, go to www.plumpfoundation.org.
Well, all right, Minister Plump. We appreciate you for having your solution ready. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. And let's go to 336-350 and take it away.
Greetings, Dr. Lateef.
Yes,
Dr. Green, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
All right. This is Mama Bonfire AZ Paris, and thank you, Dr. Debbie Green, for your wisdom. I'm calling you from Sierra Vista, Arizona. living on stolen land in Cochise County. Your show, I tuned in late. I apologize. I had a horrific yesterday. But anyway, I'm on this side of the dirt, family, and thank you. I want to give out a shout out to the sister that I met from Chicago yesterday. She's the manager in a healthcare facility. And I tell you that Chicago has some kind of powerful energy. I believe that the energy is so powerful and doors and gates have been opened there everywhere, but Chicago is special. And I've always known this, family, and I'm just giving thanks, Dr. Lateef, to you for moving forward, having the insight to create this platform. And that's my words of wisdom for today. I just give thanks to the Most High for all of you and Brother Charles and your wisdoms that you shared this day. And Brother Plum, thank us.
Well,
Peace.
thank us.
Thank you.
Oh,
The universal spirit. Thank us. Thank you, Mama AZ. We appreciate
Thank you.
sharing your wisdom. And yes, we are the morning think tank. So all of those who are drawn to us, you are also part of the solution. Thank you all. Area code 773-450. You're up next. Go right ahead.
Hallelujah. Great.
Hey,
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Hallelujah.
And good morning to all. This is Obadiah. You know, I was going to say this. This is what amazes me. If you go back in history, I think we make this mistake of not looking at where we come from. We were the inventors and all of that. The biggest problem we made as a people is following behind other people that have enslaved us. If we just step away from that and work on our own thing, we will really be successful. It's just like you doing this program. You say, hey, it's a problem. I want to do a solution to it. Create a solution. So at one point, we just had like a party line back in the day. But over time, it grew and grew because people need a solution. Start it where you are. Build what you need to build to create a solution for the world. Don't be looking around you waiting on nobody else to do something. Do it yourself.
I agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
Yeah, stop building wealth based on our selfish society and start being a unit. That's why you hear me say that over and over. If we take 100 people with $100, we got power.
Absolutely.
As a group, let's do a group move. I mean, we can have so much more as a group. Nobody has to suffer. We need to put our talents and gifts together and make something happen. We don't have to wait on Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any Brandon Johnson or anybody else. Do it where you are and watch the change come, because we had the power within ourselves to do it. That's why you were put here.
Amen.
Not to sit on the sideline, change things. So first, go inside yourself as deep as you can till you touch that key. Once you get that, you'll have all the answers, not only for yourself, but for others. And that's when we'll want. Other than that, this individual thing ain't going too far at all. If it's not we, us, and our, oh well. But if it's that, I'm all aboard.
Amen. All right. Well, you have definitely spoken truth. We can do this right where we are. We don't need a government decree or approval. Just be the light. Demonstrate how you treat people. Demonstrate how you respond in situations. Set the example. Everybody can do that right now, and it will spread. Area code 773-977. You're up next. Go right ahead.
Well, good morning to all. This is Lois in Chicago. Glory be to God. What a wonderful show as always. You know, I was just thinking that, you know, the problems have been going on for decades, and now we're so educated or sophisticated where they're going to they're making it mandatory that you go to a counseling for anger management or what have you, whatever it is, domestic violence involved. However, there are no results from the people going. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, the counseling has made quite a few family situations worse. You know, and so I don't know where the solution really is, because if you're assigned to go to counseling, the judge says everybody must go and everybody refuses to go. And here the family is still faced with a situation where one day someone might have to be going to the morgue instead of to jail. So there's no support for parents, I think, who are suffering, trying to seek help with their children when it comes to the law enforcement. I think there's a flaw somewhere that needs to be corrected because the counseling's not helping. Situations are going on, lives are being threatened, people are going to bed afraid of their children, and children afraid of their parents. I mean, what is it? But anyway, that's my opinion for today, and thank you all very much for this time. God bless. This is Lois in Chicago.
Thank you, Lois in Chicago.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you so much for everything.
Change is to change our intention. Make our intention be that we desire the well-being of all others. If we just did that, just changed our intention for everything we did, then our solution would be based on that, not based on vengeance or retaliation or one-upmanship. I'm going to show I'm better than you. Remove all of that. Change what's in our hearts and make it be that we desire for the well-being of others. Well, in our last moment, we want to make sure we give Dr. Deb, but we got one more. I don't know if they've spoken already. 773-330. You got 30 seconds. Go right ahead. 773-330. Yes. Did you meant to press one? I think you.
Good job.
Okay. Oh, okay. That might have pressed it again by accident. Okay. Well, we've got the last moments. Dr. Debbie Green, your words of wisdom as we go. Go right ahead.
Absolutely. I think it's extremely important for us to understand the concept of pain. Okay. Pain is executed in many, many different ways. It's through our body and our central nervous systems. It's through our emotions, through our heart cavity, through our heart and with emotional intelligence. It's through our minds, understanding or not understanding, overstanding mental pain. So there's so many factors that lead up to a distinctive, dysfunctional, defective human being, because it's all pain. Pain turned into other toxic behavior. Pain turned into other toxic actions and habits, responses, and reactions. So we can't minimize the pain that people are suffering. Sometimes the pain gets so great to they want someone else to suffer with them, not even knowing that they're in this fate of their life until they actually done something. And I think, for example, if a person that hurts and it says so much enormous torture, pain, takes lives and then turns around and instantly takes its own life, that should tell you how much pain it's under.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So how can we fix, how can we soothe, how can we heal the amount of pain that our human nature and being a human being has suffered for years and years and years and years? We are eons beyond with nothing but pain from the very beginning. Pain is one of those things that is supposed to transform, is supposed to change us into a better person, it's supposed to expand our horizons. But then when we don't understand the pain, you guys, it starts to cause a toxicity in ourselves, right? And then that thing starts to turn into other toxic things.
Yes.
But, I implore today and I scream out today, check yourself for any internal pain and deal with that pain. Resolve it. Don't just act like it's not there, because it will turn into other things. Yes. And this is just one thing that pain has turned into, being a narcissist.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. YouTube, I appreciate you. Please subscribe to our channel. Let us comments. Facebook watchers and viewers, thank you so much. Blog Talk listeners, continue to do your greatest work. Just be the greatest you. Thank you so much, Naima, as well. Okay. Part 3 is coming.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Join us tomorrow for
We've come to
Health
the end
and
of our show
Well-Being
today.
with Viata,
You
right
can
here
hear
on the
every show
Female
in the
Solution
archive
Radio
at
TV.
She's going to hit narcissism. That's because it's a hot topic.
/female-solution. You can
Thank you
also
so
hear
much.
today's show on the Female
Have a
Solution.
wonderful week and day. Take care of yourself.
www.female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. And you can